All right, strap in, everyone, because today we are going deep, and I mean deep, into a theory that's going to really stretch those brain muscles.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking quantum informational history optimization theory.
Catchy, right.
Very catchy. Or QICSU for short.
There you go.
That's right, QICC.
Much easier.
It's a theory that's trying to bridge the gap between quantum mechanics and information theory, and get this, maybe even consciousness.
Yeah, it's some pretty wild stuff.
It really is. And the source material for this deep dive is a fascinating research paper by Freeman Hoy.
Definitely a thought-provoking one.
Oh yeah, big time. So picture this, a universe where the entire history of everything from the Big Bang to this very moment right now is like one massive optimization problem.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I'm following you.
And the solution to this cosmic problem, the reality that we experience, is the one that basically wins in this huge cosmic game.
Like a universal survival of the fittest.
Kinda, yeah. It's super out there.
It is.
We're going to unpack what all of that even means and explore some seriously mind-bending implications.
We will, and to start, I think what's really interesting about QIHOT is that it actually accepts the standard math of quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Things like wave functions, the Schrödinger equation, all that.
It's not chucking it all out the window.
No.
Oh.
I just add some extra rules on top, like a new layer of cosmic code, if you will.
So it's not rewriting the quantum mechanics playbook, more like adding some twists.
Yeah, exactly. It's tweaking it, adding some new wrinkles.
So what kind of extra rules are we talking about here?
Well, QIHOT lays out these 5 fundamental postulates.
Okay.
And these postulates are like the ground rules for how the universe chooses its own history, like the rule book for this cosmic game we're talking about.
5 postulates. All right, I'm ready to dive in. What's the first one?
So postulate number 1,
Hit me with it.
it's a big one. Only one history is actually real.
Whoa, okay, hold on.
This goes against some other interpretations out there, like the many worlds interpretation.
Right, where every quantum possibility branches off into a new universe.
Exactly. But QIHOT says, nope.
No parallel universes.
Nope. Just one timeline wins the ultimate prize.
Which is existence.
Exactly. Just existing.
Okay, so no multiverse, just one single timeline that makes the cut. But how does the universe choose which history wins?
That is where postulate number 2 comes in.
All right, lay it on me.
This one says that the winning history, the one that actually happens, is the one that optimizes a very specific quantity, and this quantity is related to information.
Information, okay, so instead of everything just being random,
Right.
QIHOT is saying there's this underlying principle driving the universe's evolution.
Exactly.
And that principle is all about information.
Yeah, like the universe is solving a puzzle, but the solution it chooses is the one that tells the most efficient story.
The most information-rich, the most organized story.
Right, the most ordered.
That's a huge shift from how we usually think about things.
It is. It's a pretty radical departure.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's not even the wildest part yet.
Not even close.
Because then we get to postulate number 3.
Which brings us to the mind-bending concept of retrocausality.
Okay, retrocausality. So the future can influence the past. Like, are we talking time travel here? Back to the Future style?
Not exactly like Back to the Future, but the basic idea is that future conditions can subtly influence events in the past.
No paradoxes.
No paradoxes, don't worry.
Okay, good.
More like the universe is playing a strategic game of chess where every move, past, present, and future, is taken into account to lead to the best possible outcome.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this idea that the future can nudge the past.
It's a tough one, for sure.
It is. It really is. But it does kind of help explain some of those head-scratching things we see in quantum mechanics, right? Like how entangled particles seem to know about each other instantly across vast distances.
Yeah, that's one of the things it tries to address. So instead of assuming those particles are communicating faster than light, which is impossible as far as we know.
Right. Got to follow the rules.
QIHOT suggests it's more like the whole history of the universe is optimized together.
So it's like they were coordinated from the get-go.
Exactly. No need for spooky action at a distance.
All right, now we're getting into some seriously mind-bending territory.
And we're just getting started.
Let's keep pushing forward, though. What's postulate number 4 all about?
Postulate 4 is where we, the observers, get added into this cosmic equation.
Whoa. So we're not just watching this universe unfold, we're part of the game.
We're players in the game, actively shaping it.
But how? How do we do that?
Well, the idea is that the information we gain through observation actually contributes to this whole optimization process.
Really? So every time we look at something, learn something new, we're actually nudging the universe toward a specific outcome.
In a way, yes, but it's not like we have this huge individual power over the universe.
Okay, good, because that would be a lot of pressure.
Right. It's more like we're all part of this giant feedback loop.
Where our observations feed back into the system.
Exactly. And that shapes how the universe evolves over time.
Okay, this is blowing my mind, but before we get too carried away with our cosmic influence, we got to get to the fifth postulate.
Right. Number 5.
What's that one about?
Postulate 5 is like a reality check. It makes sure QIHOT doesn't throw out all the existing science.
Okay, good. It can't just rewrite everything we know.
Exactly. It has to align with what we already see in experiments, like the Born rule in quantum mechanics.
It has to make sense.
Right. It can't just come up with its own reality.
Okay, so it's got to match up with what we actually observe in labs, but it's also adding this whole new layer of information.
Yes.
As a driving force, it's saying it's just as important as energy in how the universe works.
Exactly. Information is fundamental.
And this is where things get really interesting, right?
This is where it gets good.
Yeah, because now we start talking about this idea that instead of just minimizing energy, like in classical physics,
Right.
the universe is actually trying to minimize something called an action. And this action is tied to information and entropy.
It is. That's where those two come together.
Sure. All right, so let's break that down a little bit. First, what is entropy? How is it related to information?
All right. So entropy, to put it simply, is a measure of disorder or randomness.
Like a messy room.
Exactly. The messier your room, the higher the
The
entropy.
more clothes on the floor,
Exactly.
the more chaotic it is.
You got it. And QIHOT suggests that the universe actually prefers histories that are more ordered, less random, more tidy in a way, which means minimizing entropy.
So it's like the universe is constantly striving for structure and order.
Yeah, it's like a cosmic neat freak.
A cosmic Marie Kondo.
There you go, folding space-time.
And how does it do that? How does it tidy up the universe?
It does this by minimizing something Huey calls an information cost.
Information cost.
Yeah, like think of it as a cosmic ledger, and every quantum event, every observation is like an entry in this ledger.
So every time we check our email, every time we scroll through social media, we're adding to this cosmic ledger.
In a way, yes, every interaction, every bit of information processed, it all factors in.
And then the history with the lowest information cost, the most efficient one.
That's the one that wins.
Ooh.
It's the one that gets to be real.
Okay, this is starting to make sense, but how does this new way of thinking about the universe actually explain those weird things we see in quantum mechanics? Things like wave function collapse,
Oh, yeah.
entanglement, those things that make everyone scratch their heads.
QIHOT definitely takes a stab at explaining those.
And that's what we're going to dive into next.
Exactly. That's where the real fun begins.
I am hooked. This is already so fascinating.
It is. It is.
All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
So we've been talking about how in the bizarre world of QIHOT, the universe is constantly optimizing its history based on information and entropy.
Right. It's like it's trying to find the most efficient and organized story.
Exactly. And that leads to some really intriguing explanations for some of those classic quantum mysteries that have stumped scientists for, well, forever.
Yeah, like wave function collapse. That moment when a quantum system goes from a blur of possibilities to a single definite outcome.
Right. It's the thing that makes people say quantum mechanics is all about randomness.
But QIHOT has a different take on it, right?
It does. Instead of this sudden random collapse, QIHOT says there's no collapse at all.
Really, no collapse.
Nope. The single outcome we see, the one that becomes real, is simply the one that won the optimization game. The one that best fits into the most information-rich, entropy-minimizing history.
So it's like there's a cosmic competition going on, and only the most fit outcome survives.
That's a great way to put it, like a universal survival of the fittest for quantum outcomes.
So it's not just about chance. There's this underlying principle guiding everything.
Right, and this principle is all about maximizing meaningful information, minimizing that information cost we talk about.
I like that. It's like the universe is a storyteller, and it's always looking for the most elegant and impactful narrative.
Exactly, and it's not just wave function collapse that QIHOT tries to explain. It also offers a unique perspective on entanglement.
Oh, yeah, entanglement, that spooky connection between distant particles.
The one that Einstein called spooky action at a distance.
Right. It's one of those things that makes quantum mechanics so fascinating and so baffling.
It really is. How can two particles be so interconnected, even when they're light years apart?
It's like they're communicating faster than light, which shouldn't be possible.
And that's where QIHOT comes in with its mind-bending explanation, remember retrocausality, the idea that the future can influence the past.
Oh, yeah, that's going to take a while to get used to.
It is, but stick with me. QIHOT suggests that these seemingly faster-than-light correlations aren't about instantaneous communication at all.
You're not.
Nope. Instead, they arise from the fact that the entire history of the universe is optimized as a whole, with the future subtly influencing the past to ensure everything fits together perfectly.
So it's like the entangled particles are pre-coordinated. Their fates were already intertwined from the very beginning.
Exactly. No need for spooky signaling because it's all part of the universe's grand plan.
Okay, so no need to break the speed limit. The universe found a loophole.
Exactly. And it's not just entanglement either. QIHOT also addresses those delayed choice experiments.
Oh, yeah, those are the ones that really make my head spin, where it seems like a choice we make in the present can affect something that happened in the past.
Those are definitely head scratchers, but they actually fit quite neatly into QIHOT's framework.
They do.
Yeah, because remember, in this picture, the entire history, including our choices, is considered as one big whole.
So it's like the universe already knows what choices we're going to make.
In a way, yes. It's more like our future choices don't actually change the past. They simply constrain the possible histories that could have led to that point.
It's like the universe is saying, look, you can make whatever choices you want, but I've already factored them into the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. It's all about maintaining consistency within this vast optimized history.
All right, so we've covered wave function collapse, entanglement, and even those tricky delayed choice experiments. And so far, QIHOT seems to be holding up pretty well.
It is. It offers a pretty compelling way to understand these quantum mysteries.
But we've got to go deeper. We've got to talk about the bigger implications of this theory.
Oh, yeah. The philosophical implications are where things get really interesting.
Right, like what does this mean for determinism and free will? If everything is part of this grand optimized scheme, do we really have any choices at all? Are we just puppets dancing to a cosmic script?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And QIHOT doesn't offer easy answers.
It doesn't.
No, but it does give us a new way to approach this age-old debate.
Okay, I'm listening.
Instead of seeing determinism and free will as mutually exclusive, as an either proposition, QIHOT suggests a compatibilist view.
Compatibilism, that's a new one. Break it down for me.
Basically, compatibilism says that even if the universe is deterministic, meaning there's only one possible history, our choices can still arise from our internal states, our preferences, our experiences, all of that.
So we still feel like we're making choices, even if those choices are part of a larger cosmic plan.
Exactly. It's like, imagine a river flowing down a mountain. The path of the river is determined by the terrain, the rocks, the geography.
It can't just flow uphill.
Right, but within that flow, there are eddies and currents, little pockets of turbulence where the water seems to have a mind of its own.
So our choices are like those eddies.
Exactly. They arise from our own internal states, our desires, our intentions. They're still part of the overall flow of the universe.
But they add a layer of complexity.
And unpredictability.
I like that. So it's not just a rigid pre-programmed script. There's room for improvisation.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the idea that the universe seems to be optimizing for information and complexity. Perhaps our free will, our ability to make choices, is actually part of what makes the universe so interesting.
So instead of being a problem for QI fauna, free will might actually be part of the solution.
It might be what the universe is aiming for.
That's a really cool way to look at it. So it's not just about following a predetermined path. It's about creating something new, something unique.
Exactly. And that creativity, that sense of agency might be what the universe is all about.
This is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about the universe.
That's the power of QIHOT. It really challenges our fundamental assumptions.
Okay, so we've tackled determinism and free will. But what about consciousness? Where does that fit into all of this?
That's a great question, and it's one that QIHOT doesn't have a definitive answer for, but it does offer some interesting possibilities.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Remember how we talked about the universe maximizing information?
Yeah, like it's obsessed with information.
Right. Well, some scientists believe that consciousness itself is a manifestation of highly integrated information.
Integrated information, so it's not just the amount of information, but how it's connected and organized?
Exactly. It's about the complexity of the connections, the relationships between different pieces of information.
And that's what gives rise to consciousness.
That's the idea. And if the universe is optimizing for information and consciousness is a product of highly integrated information, then it's possible that the universe is, in a way, selecting for histories that are more likely to lead to conscious beings.
Well, hold on. So you're saying that the universe might actually be trying to become more conscious?
It's a possibility, and it's one that QIHOT allows us to consider. Maybe the emergence of beings like us with our capacity for awareness and experience is part of the universe's grand plan.
That's a pretty wild thought. It's like the universe is waking up through us.
It's a pretty profound idea, and it raises even more questions, like, if the universe is optimizing for consciousness, does that mean it has some kind of mind or purpose?
Does it? I mean, QIHOT doesn't explicitly say that,
Uh,
right?
No, it doesn't say that the universe has a mind or purpose in the traditional sense, but it does suggest that there's something more to reality than just random chance and blind physical processes.
It's not just particles bouncing around aimlessly.
Right, there's this underlying principle of optimization, this drive towards information and complexity that seems to be woven into the very fabric of existence.
So even if it doesn't have a mind in the human sense, it's still acting in a way that suggests some kind of intelligence or intentionality.
That's one way to interpret it, and it leads us to another fascinating question. What about the arrow of time?
The fact that time seems to flow in only one direction, from past to present to future, why is that?
Exactly. Why can't we remember the future or unscramble an egg?
Why does time have this directionality?
The standard explanation is entropy, the idea that the universe started in a low entropy state and has been moving toward higher entropy ever since.
Like a wind-up toy slowly running down.
Yeah, but QIHOT offers a slightly different perspective. It suggests that the arrow of time might actually be a consequence of this global optimization process, a feature of the most information-rich history.
Wait, are you saying that time itself is being optimized?
In a sense, yes. If we think of the whole history of the universe as a single optimized entity, then it's possible that the direction of time, from low entropy to high entropy, is just a consequence of that optimization.
Okay, my brain is officially melting. But if the universe is optimizing time, what about the very beginning of time, the Big Bang?
Ah, yes, the Big Bang, the ultimate origin story.
Did QIHOT ever explain why the universe started in such a low entropy state in the first place?
It does touch on that, and it's a very intriguing idea. QIHOT suggests that the Big Bang, with its incredibly low entropy, might have been the initial condition that ultimately led to the most information-rich, complex, and potentially conscious universe.
So we're back to that idea of the universe optimizing for life and consciousness.
It keeps coming back to that, doesn't it? It's like the universe started with a clean slate, a state of pure potential, and from there, it's been evolving and optimizing its history ever since, always striving towards greater complexity, greater information, and perhaps greater consciousness.
This is blowing my mind, but does it really change anything about how we live our lives? I mean, it's all very fascinating, but does it have any practical implications?
That's a big question, and one that we'll explore further in the last part of our deep dive. We'll delve into the philosophical implications of QIHOT and what it might mean for our understanding of the universe, ourselves, and the meaning of it all.
All right, I am definitely ready for that. This has been one wild ride so far. All right, so we've spent the last two parts of this deep dive really trying to wrap our heads around this quantum informational history optimization theory, QIHOT.
It's a mouthful, I know.
It is, but it's worth it. QIHOT, we've talked about its postulates, how it tries to explain those quantum mysteries, and even touched on some of the bigger philosophical questions it brings up.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but now let's get to the heart of it. If QIHOT is true, what does it all actually mean?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's not just about solving physics puzzles.
Right.
It's about potentially changing how we see reality and our place in it.
It's like, if this theory is right, then the universe isn't just a bunch of random particles bouncing around.
No, not at all.
It's a system that's been optimized, fine-tuned in a way where information plays a central role.
Right, and we're not just watching it from the outside, we're part of it.
Yeah, we're part of this grand scheme, and every observation we make, every piece of information we gather, it all contributes to this optimization process.
It's a really profound shift in perspective.
It is. Instead of just watching the universe unfold, we're actually helping to write the script.
In a way, yeah.
Which is exciting, but also kind of scary.
It is. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is. It's like, what does this mean for free will? If everything is part of this optimized plan, Do we really have any choices?
That's the age-old question, and QIHOT doesn't have all the answers.
Doesn't it?
No, but it does give us a new framework to think about it. Remember our discussion about compatibilism.
Yeah, the idea that even in a deterministic universe where there's only one possible history, we can still experience our choices as free and meaningful.
Exactly.
It's still a tricky concept to wrap my head around. How can our choices be both predetermined and free?
It's mind-bending,
Yeah.
for sure. But think of it this way. Imagine a river flowing down a mountain.
Okay.
The path of the river is determined by the terrain, the rocks, the geography.
You can't just decide to flow uphill.
Right. But within that flow, there are little eddies and currents, places where the water seems to have a mind of its own.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Our choices might be like those eddies. They arise from our own internal states, our preferences, our experiences.
So our choices are still part of the overall flow of the universe,
Right.
but they add a layer of complexity, of unpredictability.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the idea that the universe is optimizing for information, for complexity. Perhaps our free will, our ability to make choices, is actually part of what makes the universe so interesting, so dynamic.
So instead of being a problem for QI free will might actually be a feature.
It might be what the universe is aiming for.
It's like the universe is saying, hey, I need you to make choices. I need you to be free so I can keep exploring all these possibilities.
It's a beautiful way to look at it.
It is. It's like we're all co-creating with the universe in a way.
Exactly. And that brings us to another big question. What about consciousness? Where does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, consciousness, the big mystery. What does QI have to say about that?
Well, it doesn't have a definitive answer, but it does offer some intriguing clues.
Okay, give me the clues.
Remember how we talked about the universe maximizing information?
Yeah, it's like information is its favorite thing.
Well, some scientists believe that consciousness itself is a form of highly integrated information.
Integrated information. So it's not just the amount of information, but how it's all connected, how it's organized.
Right. It's about the complexity of those connections.
And that's what gives rise to consciousness. That's the idea.
Exactly. And if the universe is optimizing for information, and consciousness is a product of highly integrated information, then it's possible that the universe is, in a way, selecting for histories that lead to conscious beings, to beings like us.
So the universe is trying to become more conscious, more aware.
It's a possibility that QIHOT allows us to consider maybe we're not just passive observers in this cosmic drama, maybe we're actually playing a role in the universe's own awakening.
Wow, that's a pretty amazing thought.
It is. It suggests that there's a deeper connection between us and the universe than we might have imagined.
It's like we're all part of this grand cosmic dance, and our consciousness is a key part of the choreography.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It is, and it makes you wonder, if the universe is optimizing for consciousness, does that mean it has some kind of mind or purpose?
That's a huge question, and QIHOT doesn't explicitly say that the universe has a mind in the way we typically think about it,
Okay.
but it does suggest that there's something more going on than just random chance and blind physical processes.
It's not just chaos, there's a pattern.
Right, there's this principle of optimization, this drive towards complexity and information that seems to be woven into the very fabric of reality.
So even if it doesn't have a mind with thoughts and feelings like ours,
Right.
it's still acting in a way that suggests some kind of intelligence or intentionality.
That's one way to look at it, and it brings us to another fascinating question. What about the arrow of time?
Why does time seem to flow in only one direction? Why can't we remember the future?
Exactly. Why does time have an arrow? The standard explanation is entropy, the idea that the universe is always moving towards a state of greater disorder.
Like a clock slowly winding down.
Yeah, but QIHOT offers a slightly different perspective. It suggests that the arrow of time might be a consequence of this global optimization process, a feature of the most information-rich history.
Hold on, so you're saying time itself is being optimized?
In a way, yes. If we see the whole history of the universe as one single optimized entity, then the direction of time from low entropy to high entropy might just be a result of that optimization.
Okay, this is seriously blowing my mind.
I know, it's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's so fascinating. So if the universe is optimizing time, what about the Big Bang?
Ah, the Big Bang, the ultimate beginning.
Does QIHOT have anything to say about why the universe started in such a low entropy state in the first place?
It does, and it's a pretty intriguing idea. QIHOT suggests that the Big Bang, with its incredibly low entropy, might have been the starting point that led to the most information-rich, complex, and potentially conscious universe.
So we're back to that idea of the universe optimizing for life and consciousness.
It's a recurring theme, isn't it? It's like the universe started with a blank slate and has been evolving and optimizing its history ever since, always striving for greater complexity, greater information, and maybe, just maybe, greater consciousness.
That's an incredible thought. So even though QI might suggest that the universe is, in a sense, predetermined, it doesn't mean that our lives are meaningless or that our choices don't matter.
Absolutely not. In fact, it might mean just the opposite. Our choices, our experiences could be woven into the fabric of the universe in ways we can't even imagine.
So we're not just along for the ride. We're actually co-creating this universe.
Exactly, and that makes our lives, our choices, even more significant.
This is all starting to sound a bit spiritual.
It is. It's a very different way of looking at the universe and our place in it.
It's like QI is suggesting that there's something more to reality than we can see or measure, something that connects us all.
It's a beautiful idea, isn't it? That we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
It is. It really is. So to wrap up this incredible deep dive into QI, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the most important thing to remember is that QIHOT is a possibility, a new way of seeing the universe.
A new lens to look through.
Exactly, and it invites us to question our assumptions, to explore the interconnectedness of everything, and to embrace the mystery and wonder of it all.
Beautifully said. And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep exploring these big questions.
Keep asking why, keep searching for answers, and keep your minds open to the infinite possibilities.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring the universe and all its mysteries.